Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to SM Enlightenment Radio or TV, or listening to the Two Healthy Chicks podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ayana.
And we are two healthy chicks providing simple life hacks on this journey to healthy living. So, Ayana, what's in your mug tonight?
Well, I don't have a mug tonight. So, since we stopped branding people and
Yes.
companies, we got a little bit more flashy, a little more Two Healthy Chicks-ish.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Oh, yes. Pineapple fizz, skin elixir, and complete hydration. I'm all about my electrolytes.
Yes, that's an awesome combo. Ooh, I'm going to have to try that one. That's very fun. Yes, I love the tumblers. We have matching, for those of you who can't see, we have matching glittery tumblers, different colors, but, and I am drinking Inner Calm in the pink lemonade flavor. So I love it.
That is really, really good. I like mixing mine with seltzer. I don't know if that's really, what you're supposed to do to calm yourself before bed, but it's delicious.
Sounds good. Maybe just not use it as a calming thing, but as a yummy, tasty thing. So.
There you go. I will say I'm very proud of myself, and I'm really hoping that tonight's guest will be proud of me also, because I mitigated stress this evening. It was a rough day, and we will just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to use the Brighten Up exfoliator and the eye gel, the Prep Work eye gel mask. So I took a moment, took it down, mitigated some stress. So hopefully he'll be proud of me. I'm proud of myself.
You're putting our information into practice already. I love it.
And we haven't even talked about it. Look at that.
I know. Amazing.
All right. So here we are in the second part of the sleep/stress series. And we covered sleep and the role it plays in healthy living last week. So if you missed it, make sure you look up episode 15. And now we'll move into stress.
Yes. So tonight we'll cover what is stress, things to reduce and minimize stress, things that we can do daily to prevent getting stressed out. But then once we are stressed, because we know it will happen, things that we can do to eliminate stress.
No, nobody gets stressed out. The society is just full of rainbows and puffy clouds.
I know. I think we lost all of our audience because it's like, stress. I don't need to listen to this. I don't get that.
Oh man. Okay. We crack ourselves up, people.
Yes,
so moving on.
Too. Hopefully you guys are laughing out there with us, at us. I don't know.
We'll take either. I mean, I'm down for any. All right. So our guest, I am very excited. Once again, Jon, I'm going to give his bio again in case you missed the episode last week. Again, check it out. It was, he dropped so many nuggets of information. Yeah. So he is a military veteran of the United States Coast Guard and is now a sergeant for the Bloomfield, Connecticut Police Department. He experienced many traumatic events in his life, but set a goal not to let any of them prevent him from becoming better. Jon utilizes his experiences to connect with others and dedicates a majority of his personal time helping them find better versions of themselves on a daily basis. Please welcome none other than my brother-in-law, personal growth coach, Jon Sykes.
Yay! Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me again.
Welcome. Glad you are
great
here.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you back. Last week was a lot of fun. So it was perfect that the two went together. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to have him back. So thank you.
Definitely.
And I'm happy to hear that you mitigated stress earlier today. I definitely want to hear more about that at some point.
And that was exactly what I was hoping for. And I was very honest when I put the masks on. I was like, ooh, Jon would be so proud of me.
I would. That's right.
Tonight. So I did. I put it on social media. Myself in masks.
That's my girl.
Nice.
All right. So last week you told us a little bit about your story, and I think your experiences really tie into tonight's topic and absolutely make you our resident expert. So if you'd like to share even more, the floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely. So I appreciate that. So last week I mentioned how one of my biggest things was just suffering with self-sabotage. And, and early on in life when I was 17, my brother took his own life. And I think that, as I grow older and more mature, I've basically uh, determined that one of the main nucleuses of that was because he wasn't caring enough about himself, and he
Mhm.
cared too much about others, and he was never really um, identifying the issues that he was dealing with on a daily basis. And what I've grown to know is and notice with me is I self-sabotage very often, where
Mhm.
I think so much about what other people think of me, or meeting a deadline, and I'm always like creating this in self-induced stress that puts me in a negative mindset. And what I do to get out of that is basically I have to talk myself through it. So, like, Ayana, I'm not sure what you did today to get yourself through it, but I am super proud of you. But
A whole lot of talking.
yeah,
Thank
which
you.
is good, which is awesome, and we have to take the time to do that, right? But one thing that I over time is I identified the fact that we are perfectly imperfect. There's
Mhm.
nobody in this world that is perfect, and we should not be seeking perfection. We should be seeking the best version of ourselves. And it's simple. It's simple to find that, because all you have to do is be 1% better
Yeah, I
every single day.
definitely.
Yeah.
And and by
Definitely.
doing that, you will accomplish goals that you would never have thought that you would be able to accomplish. And that's what brought me here today, speaking with you two lovely ladies, is that through my journey, I have realized and identified that, wow, all it takes is identifying the rut I'm in, and identifying the
Mhm.
traumas and the skeletons in my closets and everything that put me in this negative rut, and then being able to just pull the layers back, and finally you get to that positive nucleus where it's like, okay, now it's time to get into drive and push forward. So here we are, and one day at a time, 1% better.
Mhm. That's
That
amazing.
is
I,
that
I
is
love that. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
But I just love that 1% better, because I think that's a huge mic drop right there. I mean, because and I really identifying what is it that is bothering us. Well, then why is that bothering us? And then, well, why does that bother us? And really go back to, like, or kind of like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? Oh, well, what would happen? And so just realizing that it's not as bad as we think it is, and truly understanding what is at the core. It's really sometimes is like just our own thoughts about the
Right,
situation.
right. And when you really put it to the bare bones of it, that's what it is, right? It's so simple to say out loud, but when it's about you, when it's you self-analyzing, it's
Mhm.
so much more difficult. Like when you're in a supervisory position, if you're a parent, if you have friends, we're always able to give the best advice. But as they say, you're able to
Mhm.
give good advice, but you never take your own advice, right? And it's so simple. You're literally giving the words and you're giving the path to somebody else, but then we
Mhm.
never reflect it upon ourselves.
Yeah.
You're
It's simple, but
absolutely
it's
right.
simple but difficult, right? that's
Right.
that's the that's the battle.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the key pieces of information that you just provided was just acknowledging what is at the core, just like you said, Jenny,
Right.
like just figuring out, because I think once you can identify it, and I think
Mhm.
that goes with any topic of concern, when you can identify the core, then you can move forward. So what is stress? Let's start in Jenny's, favorite way of starting the episode is with a definition. I beat you to it this time. So, stress, according to the dictionary, is the feeling of being overwhelmed or unable to cope with mental or emotional pressure. We're going to focus on this because of that word feeling. Like, stress is the feeling of being overwhelmed. So, it's not actually that you can't deal with it, it's just that feeling that you can't. So, what we can do to identify that and move past it is where we're going to live tonight. And any feelings that we experience, we can work to change.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting thing too, because um this was something that with my autoimmune disease, and learning about how much stress affects it. And it's like, okay, get stress out of my life. Well, it can be semi-easy, not easy, but it can be easier to take out the major stressors in your life, like, avoid certain things and don't do certain things. But then when you get down to your thoughts that produce feelings in your body, that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother story, because it's the thoughts. I mean, everything that Jon started off talking about, like our thoughts going places, and then our stress level goes up and our blood pressure goes up and we're getting stressed out. And it's hard to control those thoughts. It's a lot easier to control our actions and don't do this, don't do that. But to really control those feelings and those thoughts is a whole different thing. And fun fact, that you cannot lose weight when you are stressed. And so and being stressed can come from those feelings, those thoughts that we are giving ourselves. And so I'll just throw in a little plug for Dr. Tanda Cook. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She's great. She gives some great tips, but she was just talking about this the other day. And I thought it was so funny when I came across it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about stress. And she just talked about cortisol. And Jon, you had mentioned that the last episode, and just the hormone and just it gets, it rises when we are stressed. And then we aren't able to lose that weight. And so a lot of times it's not just the big stressors in our lives, it's really the little things and the thoughts that produce the stress.
Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever heard of stress-free eating. It's always stress eating, right? Because you have such a high level of stress that you then need to somehow counter that. And what do? We get the comfort food. We get that food that's then going to just make us feel good, which is going to basically decrease our stress levels. But what is it really doing? It's creating an unhealthy pattern of diet, right? And so, like you said, Jenny, they are one and the same. It really is like crazy how that works.
I actually learned something, maybe this was about 5 weeks ago. So shout out Lainey Gray. I heard this on one of her lives. She interviews a number of nutritionists and just people related to the health field. And our body is going along the same lines of not being able to lose weight when you're stressed. When we are eating, if we're in a high stress situation, and I didn't even realize that this was one of them. But for instance, driving, our bodies are not designed to digest properly, because if you take it to the core, like our body feels like we are in fight or flight mode. And if you're in that fight or flight, then our bodies, if we, like I said, were to go back to, I don't know, centuries ago, if you're in fight or flight, it's not time to digest food. It's not time to like make babies or anything like that. So that contributes a lot to not being able to have children. There are just so many things that are related to stress. And I think we all as a society understand that stress is it has a negative impact on our bodies, but I don't know if we'll ever actually understand all of the ramifications. So, I kind of got off on a tangent, but
and I'll just keep going down that tangent, because it also makes me think it's a cultural thing too, because you talked about just our bodies can't digest food when we're always on the go. And think about what the American lifestyle is like. We see people all the time walking down the street eating. We pick up fast food. We, eat on the run. Like, it's a normal part of life here. It is not like that in all other countries around the world. And so I'm not saying the US is the only place that does that, but it's a big cultural thing too. It's just very accepted. And as opposed to sitting down, you eat when you are seated at the table and you have time to eat your meal and then time to digest. But if we are always on the go trying to eat, our body is never calmed down enough to actually be able to properly digest our food.
And just to support that, guys, like, I love this, but when it comes to dieting, two of the most popular, forms of dieting right now are intermittent fasting and like some sort of like keto dieting, right? And what we do with those is, to get into ketosis, you have to prevent yourself from eating for so many hours. And same thing with intermittent fasting. You are preventing yourself from eating for so many hours. And going back to, our primal instincts, that's what we were meant to do. Our body and our mind focused on hunting, gathering, things of that nature. And then when it was time to eat, That's all you did was eat. And with any diet, they really promote the, sit down at the table, like you said, Jenny, take a bite and then put it down to allow your body to digest it. Because then once the body digests it, then it relays to your mind, hey, I'm no longer hungry. And that's how you get into that routine of a good, healthy, balanced diet. So yes, 100% on, spot on, guys.
So let's go to, so that is what stress does to us and what stress is. So let's talk about a few things that we can do to reduce and minimize our stress. So one of the things that has come to mind are sensory tools. So things like the squishy balls or the hand gripper, or there's all kinds of things. Like my kids have all kinds of things that they do. Like go into any school setting, you'll see a ton of them. But it's something sensory that you can do. I think that's one of the reasons why fidget spinners were probably so big back in the day. It's just something that you can physically do to help minimize that stress.
Yeah, I think that I order fidget toys probably every 3 to 4 weeks for my school because they are very popular, and not just amongst the children. Like, I mean, I think everyone should have some sort of sensory tool. I mean, as minor as it may seem, you'd be surprised what, a squeeze toy or some sort of finger trap or something like that can do.
That's what it's called. Like this, that I should have went and those too. Oh, but there's another one that is like these 10, it almost looks like a
and you just push
thing.
it, it button
and then flip it over and do it again. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, why is that, right? And it's because we're satisfying 3 different things. We're the nerves, so neural, and then it's the physiological, and then the psychological too, because you're taking your focus off of what it is that's stressing you out by gripping that ball or by squeezing that fidget or spinning the fidget spinner. And then so you have it's taking your focus off of what's stressing you out. You're getting that satisfaction, you're getting that sensation, and it's checking all the boxes. It's allowing you to get past that thing that's stressing you out. It's amazing. Something so small can help us through such stressful times.
Exactly. It's the same concept for adult coloring, because you are super, super focused on these very intricate lines that you forget, even if it's just for a moment, about what is bothering you, what is stressing you. So another idea for reducing and minimizing stress is exercise. And of course, everybody, we always hear exercise, but hear me out. Stick with us for a second. It lowers the body's stress hormones, which is cortisol, just as you mentioned, Jenny. But we also discussed sleep as the start of this sleep stress series. You can get that again from episode 15. But exercise helps release endorphins, which are chemicals that improve your mood and act as natural painkillers. So I'm gonna just stop there for a second. Natural painkillers. So, you always hear, exercise, you'll feel better. Like there's real truth to that. It in turn improves the quality of your sleep, which obviously, as Jon informed us last week, the more sleep you have, the more at peace you are. It's all related. And at the end of the day, it increases confidence. You feel better, you look better, it improves your mental well-being. So there are just so many ways that exercise can affect both your sleep as well as your stress level.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a circle, right? And you really you could have had this episode before sleep and it tied right in, right? Because it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Am I stressed so much that I'm losing sleep, or is my lack of sleep creating stress? And it's like you just said, Ayana, like, man, they all just fall in line with each other. If you do one thing, you focus on one thing, the next thing is going to get better. If you focus on your mindset and strengthen that, you're going to have a better focus on working on your physical health and then your diet, because you're going to have that discipline to do those things. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, it is kind of fun. So here's another one that is very cyclical with that. It's like, which one comes first? But breathing. I mean, we talked a lot about that. You gave some great wisdom in the last episode, in the sleep episode. So we're not going to go over that, but I did want to mention it. Just breathing and breathing purposely and deeply is a huge way to minimize stress, also to help you go to sleep, which is why we mentioned it in the other episode. But that's a great one. Also journaling. And Jon, I think you mentioned this in the last episode as well, but journaling is such a great thing to, and it kind of ties in with what you were talking about right at the top of the show about peeling back the layers. And that's one of the ways that you can do that is just putting pen to paper and really getting those thoughts out. I know when I'm angry or upset or whatever, that's especially a very helpful thing for me to do, is just write down and just kind of get it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And my biggest takeaway from journaling is that, and we can talk about it a little bit later, is identifying your triggers. What are the things that make you get stressed? And by writing things down, and then a week, 2 weeks later, you go back and you read it, and it's like, how was I feeling that day? What was it that made me write what I was feeling? And then you're like, that's right, this happened. And then I felt like this 6-8 hours later when I was journaling. And then you can start identifying what one of your triggers is that could be making you so subconsciously stressed out more than you even realize, because you didn't identify the trigger, the thing that was creating that stress. So
oh my
journaling,
goodness,
journaling's huge.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here shaking my head because I literally have an app on my phone that when I started using it, I don't even remember the name of the app now, but when I started using it, I set up the system and the account so that I would be reminded every night at a certain time. And my phone literally asked me, it's such and such time. I think it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. How are you feeling? And I'm supposed to go into the app and jot down how I'm feeling. And if I actually was using it, what a concept, I might actually know what my triggers are. So I'm like kicking myself now because I have a tool that I'm just not using. That's great. So I'm going to start using that tonight.
So maybe we'll add in, actually use the things that we are talking about. Like, don't forget to do that.
Whatever.
It's a helpful piece of knowledge, just a little tip, pro tip here. All right. So that's awesome. So that is a wrap on segment 1. We are going to continue with more ideas and things that you can do on a regular schedule in the second segment. So definitely join us back here for the second part of our conversation on stress. And you are listening to Two Healthy Chicks podcast on SM Enlightenment Radio and TV.
Welcome back, and thanks again for tuning in to SM Enlightenment Radio or TV or the Two Healthy Chicks podcast. I'm Ayana.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Two Healthy Chicks. Tonight we are talking about stress. What is it? Things to reduce and minimize, things we can do to daily prevent getting stressed out. And once we are stressed, things we can do to eliminate it. So we already talked about what it is and how to reduce and minimize. So let's move on to things we can do daily to prevent from getting stressed out.
Yeah. So let's start off with scheduling. And I know this is such the non-sexy thing to talk about, but it's so true, is that just scheduling in what we want to get done can greatly reduce our stress. I know, and we talked a little bit about this during our sleep episode, but also writing down the night before the things that we want to get done the next day, and scheduling time to do all the things that we want to do, because we talked about the feeling we get and the thoughts that we have that lead to feeling stressed. And so if we can take control of our schedule and write down what we are expecting. Obviously, there's going to be things that come up that throw us off schedule, and you can't be too rigid with the schedule, but we are creatures of habit. And I mean, if you have ever worked with kids, you know that kids like routine, and adults are like that too. We need some sort of boundaries and schedule. So scheduling in things to get done can take it out of our mind and put it onto paper and give us that framework so that we can reduce our stress and know, okay, this is how I'm going to get the things done.
Yeah, you know, I actually wish I had started taking a tally at the beginning of the episode, but I'm going to go back and listen. Just I think for my own personal information, but I think that other people would be interested to know also how many times and how many pieces of this topic relate back to sleep. It's intriguing to me how many times like we come back to it. They are so interconnected. And I mean, I knew that at the beginning when we started planning this, but I just don't think I knew how much. So another way that we can prevent getting stressed out is to pray or meditate, whatever, you know, works for you. Most importantly, at the beginning of the day. So like before you start hearing ringers and beeps and all sorts of notifications, and I definitely have to work on that. I think actually what I might do is start to put do not disturb on until a certain time of the morning, because there have been way more times over the past 2 weeks than I would like to admit where I'm waking up to notifications, and it's an awful way to start the day. I will give myself credit in saying that when it has been extreme, where I've received 15 messages between text and email in like a 20-minute period, after I address whatever it is, I do take at least 15 minutes to go back and reset. And I've noticed how much of a difference that has on my day. So I think maybe if I can just take it another step further and nix the notifications first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I love those. So those are actually two things that I actually do. Jenny, I want to start with yours with this scheduling. The most important part of that is we can't be too rigid with it. You can't have these hard corners, right? Because things do change. Something that I do that was like a light bulb moment for me was instead of time blocks, it's color coordinated. So like in the blue, self-development, in the red, professional development, in the green, family time, things like that, because by putting those time blocks, we can actually induce more stress. Oh, I have to be done by here. So yes, scheduling is awesome. It's one of the best tools to have. And as long as you do it the correct way. And then Ayana, the notification thing. Yeah. So some suggest like not having notifications on at all. I personally don't agree with that, because sometimes we do live with our phones and we need to know when somebody's trying to reach us. But what I do suggest is, you know, don't wake up and go right to your phone, because you want to allow your body, you want to be able to reintroduce yourself to the day. Wake up with yourself before you go on social media or get that text message, things like that. And then same thing with at night, you know, don't let your phone be the last thing you look at before you go to bed, because you could go to bed creating additional stress for yourself. So what I like to do is give myself like a 15-minute time on my phone where 45 minutes I'm doing whatever I need to do, whether it's, you know, professional development, personal development, things like that. Then my alarm goes off, and 15 minutes I can do what I want on it, and it kind of allows me to break it up so I'm not mindlessly always on my phone. But those things are great tools to definitely put in the toolbox.
That's awesome. And I will also echo the whole phone thing and the notifications and stuff. And that was getting out of control for me, but I was a little bit frustrated because I'm like, well, that's my alarm clock. So my phone has to be right by my bed. And so that's when I changed all that. I'm like, no, I have an alarm clock. And actually my kids, so I don't even need that anyway. But what I did was I moved my phone out of the room and it's out in the kitchen. So there is no temptation. Like I am not reaching for that first thing, because
Wow.
yeah, and world of difference, because I like, even if you're not trying to, you just look at the time and then you see all the message, oh, what is that? And your day is off like that. And so I'm like, I have to be intentional about how I start my day, and I'm not going to allow that to just overtake me. And so you have to be super intentional about it. And it's like we've talked about, and I don't know whichever episode we talked about, but just being careful. And Jon, what you just said about what you are thinking about and reading right before you go to bed and first thing in the morning, those are two key times of your day. It sets up your sleep, and then it sets up your day. And so we really have to protect that. And if we just leave it to whatever messages happen to be sitting there, notifications happen to be sitting on our phone, we are not taking control of that. And so we definitely can, by changing the times and the order of things that we do things and look at things.
Yeah, that is huge. That's extreme. I'm just sitting here while I'm listening to you thinking about whether or not I could put my phone in another room. I mean, obviously, I think I could. Would it create more stress for me? Probably. Because, especially with Sykes not here, like that is what I do. Like I kind of, when I wake up in the morning, I check for his text, especially if it was a matter of him traveling, just check for the text.
Right.
I got here safe, so
Yeah.
that, and then of course, the work phone. So there's that, but we'll just leave that there because
Okay,
then we're
leave the
talking
work phone
about
hidden somewhere else.
mitigating stress. And that actually, just thinking about one of your loved ones not being there and the reasons that we have our phones, that actually segues into your next tip, Jenny.
Yeah. So just spending time with loved ones. We are relational beings. We are meant to spend time and do life with other people. And I think that was made extremely obvious through the past year and a half, 15 months, however long it's been. So during this extreme time that we have all just lived through. So I think that really has come to light even more so now, that it is so important to spend time with people. And again, it's that intention of making sure we are carving out that time to spend with other people that we enjoy being with, our loved ones, because it can be very easy to just be like ships passing the night, or if you live alone, not really having that quality time with people. So just really being intentional about spending time with people.
Yeah, I am a huge advocate for date night, especially when you're married. Like, I think it's more important when you're married or when you have like a life partner than it ever is before, because it's so important to make sure that you stay connected. But I guess that's an entirely different episode.
That's a good idea for one.
Look, ding, 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 ding. Season 3
that one down.
around the corner.
And to just add on that, or add on to the next one, then not only spending time with people, but then also the next one to daily have is conversation. And so just making sure that we are actually intentionally having conversations with people, and especially just maybe this not daily, but maybe weekly, or just being intentional about catching up with friends. That I think so many times we can treat that as just a luxury. I think a lot of things that we can do to reduce stress, we can just be seen as, oh, that's just a luxury, like a massage, or like, just more personal time. But it really is key for our bodies and for a way to reduce stress. And so I think intentionally having those conversations with your friends from high school who you keep in touch with, or your friend from college, or just your friend, wherever, that you don't get to see all the time. And it's been, 3 months, 5 months, a year, and you're like, oh gosh, I haven't talked to them in forever. So just having that be a regular part of your rhythm of having really meaningful conversation with people is a great way to be able to reduce that stress in your life.
I think I'm like the example queen tonight, but literally last night I was talking to a friend and we haven't seen each other. I mean, we used to both live in New Haven. So we used to see each other multiple times a week, and now we haven't seen each other in months. And before we got off the phone, we decided, oh, we should go to this restaurant. And I was like, you know what? Just pull out your phone. And we literally just booked it on the calendar, and we started, going week to week to week. And then it was August, and I'm like, okay, no, stop. Oh. This is ridiculous. Let's back up. We have to be able to find something. And I think that's important, especially just like you said, it pretty much is in the same bucket as spending time with loved ones, having those conversations. Like, friends are loved ones. So just being intentional about, obviously you and I have no problem with conversation. I mean, we had an entire podcast, so there's that. Yes. But having those times throughout your week where you connect with people you actually connect with. I agree.
Yeah, you guys are hitting the nail on the head, because these relationships that we build with people, whether it's friends, family, it can be a complete stranger. It's more than just that. There is a true energy behind that, where you could be at 100 and just somebody putting their hand on your shoulder can bring you back balanced. Things where the first thing a mother does when she has her child is there's that body to body connection. It's just being that vibe, right? Like how we say it, like, there's something about you, I don't know it, but like, we're gonna get along. There is a true energy. Not everybody believes that, but I do. That can literally de-stress you just by saying, like, okay, I have hundreds of friends in this world, but I need to call that one friend that's going to get me out of this troublesome moment and this time. And, for one thing, it might be you, Jenny, and I go to you when I'm feeling this type of way. And then when it's something else, it would be you, Ayana. I know that when I call Ayana for something of this circumstance, she's got me. And that energy can't be explained. There's no doctor or scientist that can say this is why that happens, but it's there. Somebody, it could be a physical touch or just being in the presence of that person or group of people that can literally bring you from a super stressed environment to a wicked de-stressed environment.
Yeah.
Aww. Yeah. It made me think of, again, example queen here. I think Sykes is that person for me for work, because literally anytime I'm at 25 when it comes to work, if I'm able to talk to him or if he happens to reach out to me in the middle of whatever, no matter what it is that he says, whether it's, hey, let's go egg their house, obviously, whatever it is.
Whatever
that is not one of our stress relief things that we are suggesting. Just disclaimer.
My brother knows.
We do not promote violence, just saying. And it literally happened today. I wish I could remember what he said, but thanks, Sykes. Thanks for being that person for me.
There he is.
That's awesome. And I feel like this is also, I should be writing these down, like all the ideas for extra, more episodes, because just absolutely just the energy. We are spiritual beings. The universe is made up of energy, and there is that energy exchange. And so I think that would be a super fun thing to explore more in depth. We need to move on to, we have so many good things. So
don't worry, I'm taking notes.
One more thing quick before we go on to our last number 4, once we are stressed out, what to do. But I will just add in also pets. And just spending time with them, playing with them, petting them can definitely reduce stress as well. So just throw that out there from the one that does not have a pet. But I know that those are very helpful. So those are things that we can do daily to prevent getting stressed out. So let's move on to number 4. Once we are stressed, so we know we all get there. So what are things that we can do to eliminate the stress?
So you can consider supplements. Ironically, you have 2 healthy chicks here who are like your supplement queens. So you can call us like the 2 supplement chicks. But anyway, I digress.
Okay.
So we, I don't know, again, if people are laughing with or at, but we'll take that. It literally just came off the cuff. Anyway. All right. So we got this following list from healthline.com, and you know where you can find it. We'll tell you later. But the first one is lemon balm, and that's a member of the mint family. It's been studied for its anti-anxiety effects. And yeah, there's at least 5 or 6 more. So let's just knock them out before we run out of time.
So the next one is omega-3 fatty acids. One study showed that medical students who received omega-3 supplements experienced a 20% reduction in anxiety symptoms. And I just will also add, for me personally, I know omega-3 fatty acids are huge with my autoimmune disease. I know with a lot of people that have autoimmune diseases. So that is a really, really key, really important.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now. I want to read more of it before I mention it on our podcast, just to make sure I know what I'm reading. But in that book, it actually states that omega-3s are very beneficial for people with a specific blood type. So I want to read more and more and more about that. So don't worry, I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, but you do have to keep listening. There's always a method to my madness. All right, next one. Ashwagandha. Jenny, I wonder where we could possibly have heard of ashwagandha before. All right, so it's an herb used in Ayurvedic medicine to treat stress and anxiety. There are several studies that suggest that it's effective, and again, it's been used for years. You can actually find an article about it specifically in goodhousekeeping.com, and you'll also hear information about it in our APOD later in this episode. Lucky you.
Yes. All right. The next one is green tea. Green tea contains many polyphenol antioxidants, which provide health benefits, and it may lower stress and anxiety by increasing the serotonin levels. So I know we've talked about hormone levels and different things here. So just got more of them coming at you from all different angles.
Yeah. The next one is either really going to shock you or you're really already going to know about this one. It's valerian. So valerian root, also known as catnip, believe it or not, is a popular sleep aid due to its tranquilizing effect. It contains valerianic acid, which alters gamma. Yep. I don't even know why I tried it. We're just going to say GABA.
Yes.
No, I'm going for it. Gamma aminobutyric acid. Boom.
Let's go.
Receptors to lower anxiety. I mean, phonics was one of my best. I don't know. It's not really a segment. Yes, Doc, I am winning. Again, if you are missing the video portion of this, I feel so sorry for you. So yes, catnip, also known as valerian root, can be found in many teas. You can actually go to any grocery store now. Even the big blue box store, we'll leave it at that with the little yellow star. You can find it in the tea aisle. So there are a number of brands that have valerian root in their teas now. So there's that.
There you go. And our last one is, I don't even know how to pronounce this. I'm going to go with kava kava.
You got it.
Ooh, yes. All right. So kava kava is a psychoactive member of the pepper family. So it's been long used as a sedative in the South Pacific, and it is increasingly used in Europe and the US to treat mild stress and anxiety.
So that is our list of supplements, things that you can consider to eliminate stress. But, I'm sure Jon has some ideas for us because, like I said, he's our resident expert. So take it away.
Yeah, so I'm not going to give any name brands or anything, but essential oils do often help with people. Put some on the wrists, put some behind the ears, bottom of your
Lavender.
feet. They yes, exactly. They work wonders. And the hot new craze, is CBD oils. Those things do work for a lot of people. I've never personally tried it, but I have personally spoken with some of my clients that say that it's life-changing. So, if you are suffering from stress and and the anxieties of the world, I would say never stop trying things until you find something, as long as it's healthy, as long as it's not going to take away from your everyday living.
Right.
I would say, I would strongly suggest you keep working on you. Number one should always be you and self-care. So
I love that. And you know what? I think 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Jenny. Like we can provide supplements, we can provide essential oils, and unless there's something you're not telling me, we cannot provide CBD.
Yeah, no, that not
Okay.
not
All right.
at this moment, not that I'm aware of.
But again, 2 out of 3, I think we're winning. All
Yeah,
right.
winning.
Winning.
Oh, come on, Doc.
There we go.
Are. Yes, winning. You have to find us on our YouTube channel.
All right. So remember to join our Facebook group called Two Healthy Chicks. Number 2, not the word. And our VIP group is where you will find info from this episode and others, where you can join the discussion about how stress affects you and what you're doing to mitigate it. Please tell us about anything that you learned tonight so that we can keep bringing you the content that you want, things that stuck out to you. And Jon, I just am so grateful. Thank you for blessing us with your presence in this episode. And last, it was we were actually talking backstage. I'm gonna shout out Doc. So we were talking about, oh my goodness, the time just flies. Yeah, when you have a good guest, because there have been times where we're like, okay, so we're just going to wrap this up now, but we haven't had that issue. So I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you
for having me.
And can you tell us how people can get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Instagram is my handle is I am Jon Sykes. Jon spelled Jon. Sykes is Sykes. So I am Jon Sykes. That's the best way to find me right now. Same thing with my Twitter account. I'm also on Clubhouse, getting on there, and I'm starting some late night conversations. And all this stuff that we're talking about, I mean, we are literally just scratching the surface. You guys need to keep listening to these lovely ladies because they know what they're talking about, and they make it fun to listen to and to learn. And all this is going to do is make you a better version of yourself. And that's all we all are striving for, right? Is to become better. And some of us think that it's impossible. And I promise you, from somebody who was at 0, if not negative, it's not impossible to become better. And these girls are, living it, and they're letting me join them. So again, I thank you girls very much.
Oh, Jon, you're about to bring a tear to my eye. And I did not pay him to say any of that. I'm just saying.
No.
But yeah, definitely let me know about CH, because I would love to hop in and listen to support. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jenny, it is APOD time of the day.
Yes, it is. And it is our APOD, our Arbonne product of the day is Inner Calm. And this is actually what I have been drinking all evening. It's a vegan dietary supplement that's formulated with 2 ingredients that are commonly used in Ayurvedic medicine. Let's see if you were listening. You heard one of them tonight. The first one is sustainably sourced ashwagandha, which is a powerful adaptogen. And the second one is sustainably sourced saffron to help you achieve a balanced mindset. So
ashwagandha, you don't say, Jenny.
I know, ashwagandha. And I will just add, I'll just interrupt myself too and say, like, ashwagandha is something that I have been taking for my autoimmune disease. So like it is it's so helpful in a million different cases and a million different reasons. And it's so, so good. And it is in this Inner Calm, which makes it just phenomenal for you. So
yeah, the nice thing is it like promotes those feelings of calm without making you drowsy, right?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, and it has the amino acid L-theanine also, which is derived from tea leaves. And so it gives that calm sense of relaxation. And like you just said, without the drowsiness or unwanted side effects. So it has a delicious peach green tea flavor. You'll just love how it quiets your mind. I have been drinking the pink lemonade one. So if maybe it is actually out for everybody and available when you are listening to this, that would be awesome. Yes, you never know.
Those are the perks
yes.
of being a consultant. But, again, another episode.
Yes. So, and of course, just sharing those things about the product. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. It is certified halal, kosher, vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO. So Feel less stressed by adding inner calm into your nightly routine. All right, random fact.
Oh, man. You know what? You go first.
Okay. All right, I'll go first. So my random fact, totally random. I participated in my first triathlon that I ever did after I had my first kiddo. I did a relay, so I did the bike portion of it. And then I swore that I would never do one again. And then after I had my third kiddo, I went back to them. So
I think there's like maybe 3 people I know that have, like, in my entire life that have participated in a triathlon. That is huge. I never knew that.
Yeah. Oh, really? You didn't know that?
I didn't. I mean, I knew you were into sports. I don't think we ever talked about you being in a triathlon, Jenny.
Yeah. It's just
Giving you the side eye. Something I should have known.
Well, now you know it. So what are you going
Now
to
I
drop on me
know.
that
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know?
I found out with the rest of the world. So thank you.
Yes, there you go.
Along the lines of sports. So, okay, random fact. I tried out for the swim team in high school, and really thought like I could swim. I know how to swim, contrary to whatever ridiculous stereotypes there are out there. I can swim, and many of us can. But I thought I could swim a lot better than I actually could. And we had an Olympic-sized pool in our high school. So, the tryout was to swim a lap. And those that were the fastest would get drafted to try again. Yeah, Ayana almost drowned in the pool because I thought that I could swim that distance without ever having practiced before. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, there you go.
It didn't stop me from swimming. So, that's a good thing, but never again as a sport. Nope.
Done.
Not that it ever happened in the first place. Okay. So that's that. Once again, as usual, we thank you so much for listening. We hope that you were as entertained by us as we were. We hope that you got at least one little nugget of information along with our entertainment. Our guest was phenomenal. Again, so very grateful to him. Make sure if you missed the sleep episode, you definitely want to check that out. These two go together. They are very intermingled. But thank you so much for listening to Two Healthy Chicks. I'm Ayana.
And I'm Jenny.
And we hope that you have a great whatever you're having.
Good night.